field, graduated in 2009. He was instrumental in getting us the DPAC box, if you might remember that. Michael is the senior ticketing manager at DPAC, but his true passion is he's a filmmaker, and he creates films and web series. He is the founder and CEO of Rdr Rebel Films. It's a North Carolina film production company, and it believes in telling organic stories about people, places, and moments that we love. Michael currently is producing 3 feature-length documentaries. The one we're going to talk about today is the Save the Dad Bod. It's a men's health odyssey. He's also making Harbinger, stories from the UNC Black Pioneers. And Who is Willie Cooper, a player's story. You might remember Willie Cooper on the UNC basketball team. And he's doing that in a short form interview web series under his brand Rdr Rebel. Michael is a super guy and just a lot of fun. And it's my pleasure to introduce Michael Washington.
Rob, if I am lucky enough to die before you, good sir, you have to speak at my funeral, man. That was gorgeous. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm blessed, man. I got to actually hang out with you all like two years ago. I want to say close to 2 years ago, in person at the Sheridan. So it's good to be
one
back.
Of our meetings before.
Yeah, the food was amazing and the company was even better. And I'm pretty sure it was right before like the first football game, and we had I forget the gentleman's name. We talked about recruiting, and lo and behold, Mackey's back. We did pretty good ever since. Okay, so I was a theater major at Carolina, so I'm gonna try to do something really quickly. I'm gonna try to share brand new and never before seen preview of my new film, Save the Dad Bod. We all have dad bods, at least I do. Anyway, I'm gonna try to do it, but I might fail at it. So if I fail at it, the show will still go on. So bear with me for a second as I try to do this real quick. I think we're gonna fail, but it's okay. It's all right. One more moment. Oh, here we go. Screen, guys. This might work out. All right, I'm gonna turn my microphone off for a moment. Okay, I'm failing at it, so we're gonna move forward. I will send you all the link to the brand new trailer after this. So, again, thank you for having me. When I was 26 years old, and by the way, can everyone hear me? Okay.
Sure can.
Yes, you're good to go.
Okay, good. When I was 26, I fell in love with a beautiful girl. She was at Carolina, a beautiful theater major. After 13 days, I asked her to marry me because when you know, okay. And in our relationship, one day, I think we're at a picnic probably somewhere on Carolina's campus, and she laid down on my stomach, the big dad bod that I have. And she felt like it's got a hard spot on my abdomen. And she was like, hey, that seems weird. You should go get that checked out. And I'm pretty sure we just had marriage or something. So I was like, hey, it's gas. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Then one day we had, the type of argument you have when you're engaged. It's pretty much like, listen, Michael Washington, if you want to be with me, you are going to go to the doctor and do all this other stuff. So, I went to the doctor for the first time in years. I was 26. First time in probably, 4 or 5 years, I went to the doctor. Nice doctor. Somebody's picked up randomly online, and she was like, the physical was done, and she was like, anything else you want to check on? And I was like, well, yeah, there's this lump I kind of have here in my stomach. I don't think it's anything. I think it's just gas. And she checked it out. She went, oh. And then after that, she recommended I get an ultrasound. The people at the ultrasound place were like, oh, they got some more scans. And then I ended up going to UNC and meeting with the urologist, Dr. Eric Wallen. And turns out I had stage 3 kidney cancer. Now, I was in fine health. I was actually losing a lot of weight. I was running a lot. Had a beautiful woman in my life. Had to look good. And I found out that I had to get my left kidney taken out because of stage 3 kidney cancer. Have the surgery, kidney came out, as well as an 8-pound tumor. Now, the entire time I'd been living my life, no symptoms at all. Again, I was in good health, but turns out I had cancer. Now, my father has had 3 heart attacks and had a stroke directly after the first heart attack. He had it when he was 42 years old. It was the night he got promoted to vice president of his company. And even that couldn't shake my thought that I was invincible. Years later, I'm working with UNC Men's Healthcare. I start to interview a lot of guys, Phil Ford, Brad Doherty, Bubba Cunningham, and they're all telling these amazing stories about how I thought I was in the greatest shape of my life, and then something happened. Laurie Cottle, same thing. And I was working on a documentary for the UNC men's basketball team that hopefully will make down the line somewhere. And as a storyteller, as a filmmaker, sometimes you don't have what I call a through line. And what that is a story that connects all the points. And honestly, I had some great ideas for this UNC basketball documentary, but I didn't have a through line. Until one day I was playing basketball and I started thinking about my father. I started thinking about myself. I started thinking about all the guys I know, all the dudes I know who walk their life casually, ignoring their health. They think I can crack out 10 push-ups. I can run a mile under 15 minutes. It's tougher to do in my opinion. But no one is ever thinking about their health in that way. And I realized it was a problem with lots of men. So that day on that basketball court, I decided to make the film Save the Dad Bod. Now, the idea behind Save the Dad Bod is talking deeper about why men don't engage in their health. Now, I'm sure if we were in a room and if I asked you all to raise your hand, when was the last time you went to the doctor? You find people would probably say, I go once a year. You know, my parents taught me that every year on your birthday, you go to the doctor. But when I polled the people I knew, black, white, different backgrounds, most of us were not seriously engaged in our health. And it's because of the fact that we were not annually going to the doctor that over time, things were going to be leading us to our early grave. I don't know if you all know this stat. Men and women in the United States of America, it's 50 at birth for the most part. It's 51% women, 49% men. Okay, we get to 60, it's about 63% women. Okay, so men start to fall down. By the time you get to 70 and beyond, there's only 17% of the population, 70 and beyond, are made up of men. We are dying at such a greater scale, so much faster than the women in our lives. And a lot of that is attributed to the fact that we do not engage in our health. A big part of that is American male culture. The fact that we were all raised by men, more than likely, who are like, if you fall down, you pick yourself back up, you scratch it off. We never go to the doctor. I say this all the time, unless it's broken, it's bleeding, or I don't want to be crude, but it's down there in man land, right? That's the only time men actively go to the doctor. So I went about this journey about a year or getting closer to 2 years when I interviewed a bunch of doctors I know and a bunch of just guys I knew. And we started having open, honest conversations about why we do or do not engage in our health. And I think the one thing that a lot of guys have in common is the fact that we're afraid. We don't want to think about the fact that we're not invincible. And it's been a really cool experience. I'll send you all the trailer later down the road. I really wish I could show it to you right now because it is a phenomenal film. Sorry, I'm getting a text here from Rob. Did you ever consider that men are dying because of the women? Rob, funny you say that. Most guys make that joke. most guys are like, like something like women are smarter, or the fact that, if you stay married long enough, you'll gladly leave before your wife. No offense. Yeah, no, I think it's one of those things where, again, we live in a culture that pushes us to go harder and go faster, and to not, pardon me, to not complain as much. Whereas women, I don't know about you all, but the women in my life, if they feel anything, they will contact their doctor. And Dr. Eric Wallen, who's heavily featured in this film, talks about the fact that women have that relationship with their OBGYN, that they see them annually in a way that men don't. Beyond the fact that a lot of men just don't know their numbers, and they don't take the time to know their family history. In our film, we have the great pioneer, Howard Lee, and he tells the story of the fact that his his grandfather died of what they thought was probably a heart attack, right? So when his father got to a certain age and he started feeling a certain way, he knew that, hey, I need to get myself checked out. Part of the journey of this film as well is my brother and I have an older brother, going to see a cardiologist for the first time. I'm 35 years old, and my father had his very first heart attack at 42. I'm a lot bigger than my father ever was, as far as weight. And I just knew that I knew eventually I was going to have to confront that. Now, again, imagine if I didn't have the wherewithal, I didn't know my father, or I just simply thought I was invincible and thought that, hey, I can overcome this. That's not a good way of living your life. But so many men do that. We also delve deep in the film about the role that socioeconomic politics play in our lives. My father, as well as my mother, are both from New Orleans, Louisiana. My father came from a family that owned a house. They're educated. His mother went to college. My mother, opposite side, very poor, impoverished, malnourished, and she had brothers and sisters, and they all, they never went to see a doctor. As well, Howard Lee, again, tells this really good story of, like, as a Black person growing up in the South at a certain amount of time, you didn't go see a doctor unless you really, really had to. Because when you would go see a doctor, you being Black would have to wait until all the white patients were being seen. And then chances are if something was bleeding, it's either bandage it or cut it off. Same thing with going to a dentist. You only went to a dentist if they're going to pull out a tooth. So many Black people of a certain age look at health as if, it's not an annual good checkup. It's, I'm in trouble, I'm in pain, and let me go take care of this. So it's not a good place to be. Okay, so again, I'm rambling on a little bit, but Save the Dad Bod really delves deeper into that, as well as mental health, which is a big part, I think, of it. The fact that, for me, I really wanted to engage in why in the heck do we men act in a certain way? What are we taught? What are we pulling on? Are we looking at figures like Clint Eastwood, which is a really good quote in the trailer, talking about Clint Eastwood being on an island with a nun with an arrow in his shoulder and like a fifth of liquor, and that's what a man is, versus as we, being someone who was born in the 80s, definitely I went to private school, so I had helicopter parents like crazy. My definition of what a man is not that. So it's really cool. I'm really, really happy to have this film. And I'll use the last, we got a little bit of time here. I want to talk a little bit about the company.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely show the trailer. I'm having trouble getting it. I would love to show it, Rob. Let's see.
There we go.
You got it?
The sound?
I think we're missing sound. Any chance we can get that? Again, thank you all for your patience.
as men, we really don't take our health issues seriously. We
Can y'all hear that?
don't go have annual checkups that we should.
Now, that's the big question. Why don't men engage in their own preventative health care? I think is American male culture. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's a certain amount of denial, grin and bear it. Tough guys don't go to the doctor.
I think society probably tells us that if you're able to move, if you're big and strong, you're probably all good.
Let me share this with you. There's a movie, Clint Eastwood. And Clint Eastwood is on a desert with a nun, with a coat on and a black hat, leaning on a cactus plant, with an arrow stuck in his chest and a fifth of liquor. I said, that's a man.
But there's something called the macho mentality. You're not supposed to show weakness. You're not supposed to have to depend on somebody else to take care of you. And so they are likely to cover up what it is that is bothering them because they just feel like it's something they can handle on their own.
And it's also been interesting to me throughout my career that men don't live as long as women in general, and related to almost all of the diseases that exist, heart attacks and strokes specifically. Men just are somehow either more vulnerable biologically, or there's something in male behavior that could be modifiable that could lead to more longevity and better quality of life for men towards the end.
And that is on them. That is on the men. They have to take that responsibility. So it's not just a matter of them deciding, well, it's my life, I can do with it what I want. No, it's not your life. It is everybody's life is associated with you, which means that you've got to take responsibility to take care of yourself in order to be able to allow these other folks to feel some sense of security. So I think what we have to do is to break down, in some cases, the selfish attitude that men have.
Thank you for showing that. It definitely gives context, and for a filmmaker, it's a lot more fun to show you what we're working on than to talk about it. So really, the film is about where you man up for your health, where you step up where you need to. What can we say about really healthcare in a modern male society, in a way that where, what will you do to make sure you're staying there for your family? So we have a few more minutes. I want to just, before I open up to question and answer, Rdr Rebel Films is a company based out of Durham, North Carolina. Essentially, we are trying to just share as many narratives as possible. We try to put out about 4 films a year, and we do it in a really interesting way. We raise money for the film every single year, and then we produce and we get sponsorships to pay for the film. So it's a really exciting time to be a storyteller in this area. So I will stop chatting. You guys have listened to me a lot. Any questions I can answer for anyone about the films we're making? Kathy.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi. Michael or Mike?
Either way.
Any of them.
Argyle is fine as well.
Hello, Mr. Argyle. I'm a physician, but also a former wife. And so I wanted to point out something in response to Rob about men leaving intentionally early. I'm sure you uncovered this, but married men live longer than unmarried men.
That's good for Valentine's Day too. That's
yes.
good.
And it's not even the marriage. Men associate it with women for the reason that you exemplified, with your fiance getting you to the doctor. The reverse, ironically, is not true. Married women do not live longer than unmarried women. They live less. But I don't know how you get the men in. This is a very good film. It's going to help a lot. But one of the things that I hear, especially in the Black community, is if you go in, they'll find something wrong. And so
sure.
Out of sight, out of mind. And in the older Black community is when they opened them up, the air hit it. And then cancer grew rather than the other way around. And so I'm just giving you some of the things. Women are forced to understand that their body's changing at a time that it doesn't always get welcome, but it's menses. And that's what brings you to the doctor. And then in the course of understanding, doctor doesn't mean always problems. You start to develop that relationship. So I'm of the opinion if men had some pivotal biologic thing early in their life that got them to the doctor, not of their own accord, that they might then continue with the relationship.
Absolutely. I mean, just to echo you, I mean, again, I was 26 years old with cancer.
Right.
And I never would have gone to, I would be dead if it wasn't for my fiance and wife, right? Exactly. I would be. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, I remember when I even sat down with Dr. Wallen, I was working at Playmakers Repertory Company at the time.
Yes.
And I was like, the season was about to start. And I was saying, hey, well, how can we push this off for a few months?
I have no time for this. Yes.
Like, that's the mentality of so many men.
Right.
We are, and again, this is not to say anything about gender roles. It's the fact that we want to work, we want to provide, we want to keep on going, and that again, that's the conversation that this film has. My father, who had his first heart attack at 42, the day he became vice president of a company, a tech company at the time was called Smart House. It's crazy, and then and the economic impact of him being the only breadwinner, if you will, of the family. Watching that whole dynamic change and what that did to my family and what that does to other people. So it's an awesome conversation, and I really appreciate your point.
Good luck.
Thank you. We're gonna rock it. I appreciate it. Any other questions?
Michael, this is Don Heineman.
Hello, Don. Hey, you did an awesome job earlier, by the way, man. I was rocking out.
Thank you. That's all due to me. Not my.
It is absolutely just you, Don. Just you.
Thank you very much. I wanted to ask you, who was that large family picture you showed at the end of the trailer?
That is my dad's family, and I'm in there as a young, sporting, 18 or something year old. It's my dad's family, and the reason that picture's in there is because my father, again, has had 3 heart attacks and a stroke. His father died of a heart attack when he was 5 years old. So really a lot of the health that I attribute to, what I eventually would have gone to the doctor for without cancer was my father's side of the family. So that was my New Orleans family there. Hey, Brian, thanks for raising your hand.
Okay. Michael, what a prodigious amount of work.
Last year when he was
we have fun.
50% from 3-point range for the first time in his career.
Right.
I
don't know what that background is, but.
All right. So Michael, prodigious amount of work. I have to commend you on your cast of characters. We applaud these people that you managed to get together. Luminaries, remarkable people. I should, by the way, mention that Robert Hutchins is my son-in-law. But
no way. Yeah, he's an awesome dude. Yeah.
So tell me, Michael, about the marketing, because we go to full frame and so forth.
Yeah.
What are you doing about this to get the documentary out?
Yeah, so Rdr Rebel Films is a company that I started officially back in 2016 with this sole, honestly, with the thought that I was doing it myself. That I have friends of mine who are in Hollywood who went to USC and that type of thing, and I always wanted to do it here in North Carolina. I wasn't born in North Carolina, but I do love this place with a passion, and I believe in the people and the stories here. So what we're doing, Save the Dad Bod will be released this summer on rdrrebelfilms.com, and we will self-distribute that way. I'm not a big fan of film festivals, just as of right now. Randy, if you're there with 919, I'm not sure if you're in this group. I love you. So I really believe in self-distributing, and that's why our business model is what it is. We bring in companies that essentially pay us for advertising, and then we put out the film. We do that because the film industry, as I know it, as I've studied it for a few years now, is really, they lose a lot of money. They lose a lot of money, and the only movies that really make money are the big tentpole movies, Marvel and so on and so forth, right? And I was never going to, I was never ever going to be able to do that, especially with the budget we have. So we came up with a business model where we make money before one view is sold.
Okay, so you have contracts with your arrangements, agreements with advertisers and sponsors and so forth before you start rolling.
Correct. I mean, so as of right now, we are working with. That's where we are in our process of the company right now. We are talking to different companies, trying to come along and get sponsorships. So it's really this is the first big movie we've done. So we're kind of experimenting with this one, but I feel pretty confident. We made the film for less than $5,000, right? So that's no money at all. So it's very easy to get profitable, and honestly, like I said, that's the business model I want to keep every single year, with putting about 4 films out a year.
Great story you're telling. So thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Hope it helps people. Tom, hello.
Yeah, hey, Tom Shea, thanks very much. It was a great talk. I am a recently retired oncologist. I worked with Dr. Whalen and the crew over at UNC for many years. But my question for you is, have you taken this, as far as marketing and so on, to some of the national groups, whether it's heart or cancer or whatever, like ACS, things like that? Because that would seem like this would be a really useful thing for their portfolio.
Yeah, no. As of right now, we just got done shooting the thing, and to be very, very honest, as Rob mentioned, my full-time job is still at DPAC. By the way, you guys are coming back. I'm making sure you guys are coming back. That's gonna record that, me saying that. So this is all my blood, sweat, and tears. And I'm just now in the very beginning of trying to get it out to folks. When you're, in my opinion, when you're a guy like me who produces, directs, and comes up with the whole thing, what you try to do, thanks, William. What you try to do is get it as polished and as pretty and beautiful as possible before you show it to anything, just show it to anyone. Because we are a tiny little micro studio here in Durham, North Carolina. So before we go up to folks, I'm of the opinion that you have to work twice as hard to get people to take you seriously. So, hey, if you know someone, let me know.
Okay, I may take you up on that. I certainly will if I can help. Thanks.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. Any other questions, guys? Honestly, I thanks for having me. I'm having a heck of a Friday hanging out, and thank you for hanging in through the rough start. It's a lot better for you all to see the work than for me to just mouth off about 10 minutes about it.
Michael, I appreciate you joining us today. Fantastic presentation. If there's no other questions, I'm going to ask one.
Please.
I understand you just completed this, and I think this is a really, really cool and worthwhile project that you've just finished. I heard you, if I'm not mistaken, allude to some things in your mind and in the perhaps in the future of what you're looking for other topics. And did I hear correctly that one of those might be a Carolina basketball piece? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah. I mean, like, you saw the guy in the very beginning of that video.
Oh yeah,
It's a friend of mine, and is a better friend of Rob's. I'll be honest with you, Mr. Phil Ford is the sweetest guy ever. Quick story. I know we're out of here, but just quick story. I was filming with UNC Men's Healthcare. That's Dr. Wallen's baby, the brainchild, which really is. They are partners with our film, and we're blessed to work with them. And I met Phil Ford, nicest guy ever. It's like, wow, why are you so nice? A couple weeks later, I met Brad Doherty. I was like, wow, why are you so nice? So I was like, wait a second. Two like amazing, accomplished UNC basketball players are just the sweetest guys ever. What's the common thread? I went to play. I was blessed enough to play golf with Bubba, and Rob was there at Pinehurst. And on the way back, Rob and I are coming back in a Tesla, which is just humble brag. It was a lot of fun. And Rob was like, I'm telling him stories that I want to tell. And he's like, Michael, stop it. That's how Rob talks. Michael, stop it. Tell a story about Dean Smith. He's the greatest. And I'm like, okay. The only thing I know about Dean Smith is that, he was an amazing coach, and that he gave all of his players a letter and a check to go out to dinner when he died. And I was like, that's class right there. So I started doing some research. Showtime had just made a documentary about him. I'm like, well, I can't do that. But what I can do is try to tell a story about these gentlemen. And I call it more than championships, because these guys are a family. I know every university says they have a family, but like these guys, it's ridiculous when you meet them in person, how humble they are and how accomplished they are. And I want to tell that story. So we'll see what happens in the future. That's a lot bigger than $5,000. So we start where we start in that way. Again, to button with that, even with the business of the whole thing, I don't believe ever in being a starving artist. My dad got his degree in physics. My mother got her degree in music. I'm the weird combination of those two people. And with that comes, I try to have a good business sense. So we tell the best stories we can about what we can do. And then, hopefully once Save the Dad Bod is huge, we'll be able to tell that story. But segue to that, it's not my story to tell. That's a brotherhood. Phil Ford is an amazing guy. Brad's an amazing guy. We are blessed. I can actually say, and we have on contract with Brad Doherty, signed as an executive producer, which is great. But it's their story to tell. So as soon as we can find a through line, we'll tell that story.
Awesome. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a really cool program. You're doing some really cool things.
Thanks.
I wish everybody a happy weekend, but before we close, I'm going to end with tying it all together here with a very, very recent quote from our own Rob Maitland, who said that one thing every man should be able to agree on is that our lives are infinitely better with the women in our lives. So well said, Rob. My best to all. Happy Valentine's Day. Be safe. We'll see you again next week.